Hey, what's going on, Shrimp Keepers? It is Saturday, which means it's Shrimp Saturday, and hopefully I'll get this out on Saturday, no promises, but I have a special guest today, someone I've been trying to connect with for a long time, and I actually have a really cool story about this guest. I'll get to it at some point throughout this interview, but without further ado, I want to introduce you to Christine Haw. Christine Haw runs an awesome YouTube channel. She's been a little inactive lately due to some real life stuff, and you'll hear about it, I'm sure, at some point in this interview. But so let's start off with, hey, Christine, introduce yourself and just say hi to everyone.
Hi, Robert. I am so excited to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem at all, Christine. Glad that you could be here, and super excited to our interview, or for our interview. Sorry, me and talking just doesn't go well together. But anyway, super excited you're here. So let's get into the interview. First question is, what actually got you into the hobby?
What started this whole crazy shrimp hobby for me was actually a gift from a friend. I had gotten one of those little ecosphere things, but it was a small flat vase with about 6 ophiula in them. And there was no filter, just a couple of rocks and a plant. And of course my cat accidentally knocks the vase over twice, and the shrimp eventually died off. So I did a little bit of more research on them to try to create the ideal environment, and that's where it all started.
Well, that is one reason I do not keep cats. But no, that's actually a pretty cool story. It's those spheres are pretty cool how they work, but the poor shrimp don't get enough food, I don't think. I've never personally owned one. I did look into them at one point, but yeah. So that's a really cool story. Here's a better question. I know you didn't get it from Flip Aquatics, but who did you get your first shrimp from?
Well, when I first started keeping shrimp, of course, I got more ophiula to restock the ones I'd lost, and I got those from shrimpmart.net. But once I started really getting into the hobby and getting into the freshwater shrimp, I've gotten shrimp from Alpha Pro breeders, and now I'm moving more toward getting shrimp from hobbyists who've been breeding for a long time in the U.S. and are known for having good quality stock, including you, Robert. I got my first Royal Blues from you. I've gotten stock from Sean Latrakis, Eric Lucas, Lucas Bretz. All of these are very known, well-known shrimp breeders in the U.S. that I have gotten shrimp from.
So I think it's really cool that you learned to start buying them from breeders. I think that's important just because usually you get healthier shrimp for the most part. Sometimes you just never know. But the cool story is, and this is where I will tell it, Christine, actually, you just mentioned that you got some Royal Blues from me. And my wife now actually saw that video that you posted, and that is how me and her met. So just a really, really cool story. Just how all that came about, but just a little side note. And so it worked out really good for me, so I'm glad that you bought them, and always appreciate the business. But moving on, so how long have you actually been in the hobby for and been keeping shrimp?
I've been keeping shrimp for about 3 years total, but I've been seriously selectively breeding them for about 2 years now.
Okay, so I think I've been doing it for about, 4 years now, something like that. I'd have to look back on YouTube, but that's really cool. I'm glad that you're into it, and it's always good to have a female presence in the shrimp hobby because that's what helps it grow, at least in that realm. It's hard for me to connect with female audience, but I'm glad that you do, and that's really good. But let me see. Our next question is, what do you think the best info is besides YouTube? Because I know all of us, we look on YouTube for most of our information. But what are some other forums or different things like that you actually look to for some good shrimp information?
Well, other than YouTube, Planet Inverts was one of the main websites that I went to for information on shrimp. It has a lot of good information on their parameters and their care, but also discoby.com now has a lot of good articles on how to care for them as well. So those two sites would be my most recommended for how to care for shrimp if you're looking to keep them in the near future.
That's really cool that you said Discoby. I actually did not know that they had some shrimp articles on there. So I'll have to get on there and look and check out their information. Another good one is the Shrimp Spot. I know my wife's on there a lot, and there's some really reputable sellers on there and breeders and different things like that. So that's a good place to go for some solid information. You'll get a lot of good feedback from some of the people there. But that's a good forum. I highly recommend that one also. But another question is, so Christine, what is one thing that you wish you would have known as a beginner getting into the shrimp hobby?
If there was one thing I wish I had known about keeping shrimp as a beginner, would be to cycle my tank properly and to make sure it is mature enough to be able to add shrimp. And this is the biggest thing I feel that most beginners falter on, because no one knows what cycling is. When you first get into like aquarium keeping or whatnot, you just assume, at least I did, that cycling means to let the filter run for X amount of time, and it's really not. It is far more complicated than that, and knowing how to properly cycle a tank can mean success or failure in our hobby. So if you are a beginner and you are looking to set up a shrimp tank, please, please, please do some research on cycling your tank properly so that your shrimp are in an ideal environment for them to thrive.
Wow, that is some knowledge there. Everyone take notes. That is a huge pointer, a huge thing to point out. You always want to give your tank time to cycle, and make sure there's some good algae and different things in there. So that's awesome. Thank you, Christine, for pointing that out. But what is your favorite species of shrimp? I know everyone wants to know. I want to know. I'm hoping it's royal blues, but I'm sure it's not. So tell me, what is your favorite?
With so many different variations, it's really, really hard for me to choose a favorite. But if I were to really narrow it down, I would say the royal blues are probably my favorite, just because blue is my favorite color, of course, but also because their coloration is very unique. It's a very deep, deep blue color with a hint of rust, and I really love that coloration. So, yep, royal blues, definitely it.
Yes, good choice. That's actually my favorite too. Royal blues all day, every day. I'm absolutely in love with them. So that actually shocked me. I really didn't know that was your favorite. So I'm glad that's true. But what is your feeding regimen? Just how do you feed? How often? Even if you want to share what types of food, just let us know.
Well, a staple in my feeding regimen is, of course, dried leaves. I always, always have Indian almond leaves in the tank for them, and occasionally I'll throw in some guava leaves, banana leaves, Tantora amaranth leaves, mulberry leaves, and nettle leaves. So I kind of try to mix it up so they kind of have a variety of different leaves to eat occasionally. And then I also feed a protein-based food, which is my SL Aqua more meat once a week. I feed my Shirokura Ebidama also once a week, and then I feed my special blend. I made a special blend of powdered food out of spirulina, algae, chlorella, and then different varieties of powdered foods from various brands. And I feed that on the days where I'm not feeding the other foods. So it comes out to them being fed pretty much every day on a daily basis, and they get just enough that they can finish within about 2 hours.
Wow, so you feed a bunch of different stuff. I love that you feed the leaves. I think that's super important. The more leaf matter, the better. Shrimp in nature come from slow-moving streams that have tons of leaves in them. So that's awesome. I love that you did your own food mix. That's really cool. And so awesome. Thanks for sharing all that, and hopefully some people can get some tips out of that. But other than that, so this is a controversial one, I know. Water changes, water changes, water changes. How do you do your water changes?
As far as water changes go, I used to do 10% on a weekly basis, but now I'm doing about 20% on a bi-weekly basis, partly because I just don't have time to do it on a weekly basis, but also because my tanks are very well established, so they really don't need such water changes done so often.
Wow, so you actually do some pretty big water changes. I personally do about 10% a month, sometimes more, sometimes less. And so obviously it's working for you, so that's awesome. So everyone, if you're experienced and can handle bigger water changes, Christine pulls it off no problem. So that's really good to know. But Christine, what is your biggest mistake that you made in the hobby or shrimp keeping in particular?
Yikes, this is a loaded question. I've made so many mistakes, it's kind of hard to choose one. I would say my biggest mistake is after applying makeup and putting on moisturizer and cream and all that stuff. I walked by and noticed something in my Bloody Mary tank, my newer one, that I had to um, take out. Like, for some reason, I thought, oh, I need to take that out right now. And I went to grab the tweezers, and even with the tweezers, part of my hand still gets submerged underwater. And I went to grab it out and immediately realized my mistake and was hoping that, they would be fine. Well, they slowly started dying off over the next couple days, so I completely lost that colony. So make sure you wash your hands before you put them in your tank.
Oh no, that is never good. We've been there. I've been there. It's not a fun time. So that's a big one. Definitely be aware of what's on your hands. And so that's a great point. And hopefully we can learn from that. Hopefully somebody can learn from that is watching this video right now. But Christine, what do you love most about the shrimp keeping hobby or fish keeping, whatever it is? What do you love most about this hobby?
What I love most about shrimp is that they are just so easy to keep. They just breed and breed and breed if conditions are right. And I love just watching them and making mini achievements with them. Anytime I see a buried female, I get so excited. And then the excitement doubles when I see, the first babies grazing around the tank. So I just love that aspect of the hobby is, seeing all the babies, but also how relaxing it is to just sit there and watch the shrimp graze.
That's awesome, Christine. I would say I agree. I love just watching them breed and seeing what happens, and that's what makes this hobby so fun. It really makes you appreciate tiny little things. I know now when I step on an ant, I feel bad, which before I never did, but now I appreciate all the little things because baby shrimp are microscopic. But anyway, so Christine, what's one thing that we don't know about you that no one's known about you, or I don't know about you?
I'd say one thing that a lot of people might not know about me is I actually have 4 degrees, 3 of which are associates, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do for a long time. So when I did, I went back to school and got my bachelor's in liberal studies, which is elementary education, and I am now in grad school in the credential program to become a teacher.
Wow. So I actually feel like you should be interviewing me now. You're definitely a lot more qualified. But no, that's awesome. So that's really cool to know. So you have a broad range of education, and I'm sure that helps you in the shrimp hobby. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on. How has YouTube impacted you as far as life goes? I know for me, it's changed my whole life, and so I'm interested to see how YouTube has affected you.
I think YouTube has been an amazing way for me to learn more about the hobby, but also has connected me with a lot of people that I now call my friends. And we can share ideas about the hobby, share goals, accomplishments, but also failures so that we can learn from them. So YouTube has really been a great avenue for communicating with other shrimp hobbyists.
I think that's awesome, Christine, and I fully agree. I say all the time, I think it's so cool that I can do a live stream on a Sunday and talk to people from Poland and the UK and all these different places that without the YouTube channels that we have, those people otherwise wouldn't be talking. So it's so cool how the internet works and how our YouTube channels can bring so many people together. So I do agree with that, and I absolutely love it. But tell me about you. So what's going on in your life outside of YouTube? You've been gone for a long time. I think it's been 6 months since you've made an update post. And so tell me, what's going on with Christine Ha?
My life outside of YouTube and shrimp keeping can be summed up as busy, busy, busy. I am still going to school and I'm also teaching. And on top of all that, I am planning a wedding. So 2017 is definitely a big year for me. And I'm just excited to see where it takes me.
Well, Christine, that's absolutely awesome. I wish you the absolute best in your job, in school, in your new marriage. I know I recently just got married like 7 months ago. And so I wish you the best. I hope everything works out awesome with your whole life. Hopefully we can continue to collab together and do some other things and just continue to promote this hobby that we both love. So thank you, Christine. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope that we can do something like this again soon.
Thanks again for having me, Robert. It has been a real pleasure. And if you haven't subscribed to his channel yet, make sure you do so now because he is an amazing person. And he has a lot of great info for all you shrimp hobbyists out there.
Thank you so much, Christine. That means a lot. And I feel the exact same way about you. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure the YouTube community appreciates it because they wanted to hear from you. And so thank you so much for being here. Love what you're doing. And like I said, I hope we continue to collab together and to help promote this hobby that we both love. So thank you for being here, and I look forward to doing this again soon. Shrimp keepers, thank you guys all for staying tuned and being here. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys are making it a great weekend, a fun Saturday, being safe out there. Well, much love from this side of the camera. Much love from Christine, I'm sure. You guys make it a great night, and I will talk with you guys soon. Later.